It is clear that the whole decision about a BRICS currency is essentially political. I think that's the key thing. Now, the reason I say that is that as far as Russia is concerned, she has not only the gold resources. I mean, I'm told that apart from what the Central Bank of Russia has, there are additional gold resources in the order of about 10,000 tons held in, if you like, sovereign wealth funds. Central banks are getting very possessive about gold. They don't want to lose. They don't want to give it to the public. I mean, the great unwashed, my God, no, we central banks, we hold the gold. Do you ever see them, getting back to the days of the sovereign? When we went on a gold standard in 1820, 21, 22?
In January 2024, the BRICS Economic Alliance marked a significant milestone by doubling its membership, underscoring its commitment to developing alternative financial systems. This momentum continued at the October 2024 BRICS Summit in Kazan, Russia, where member nations unveiled BRICS Bridge, a blockchain-based payment platform aimed at facilitating cross-border transactions. This initiative highlights the alliance's determination to strengthen economic cooperation and reduce dependence on traditional banking networks. During the summit, Russian President Vladimir Putin presented a prototype of a potential BRICS banknote and shared the group's views on the US dollar. He stated, "We are not refusing or fighting the dollar, but if they don't let us work with it, what can we do? We then have to look for alternatives," which is exactly what's happening. This comment emphasizes the alliance's proactive efforts to develop new financial mechanisms to navigate the challenges of a dollar-centric global economy. The proposed currency, tentatively called the unit, is expected to be backed by a combination of gold and local currencies. Recent announcements from the New Development Bank suggest the currency could have 40% of its value backed by gold reserves from member countries and 60% supported by the local currencies of BRICS Plus nations. The substantial gold reserves, particularly those held by Russia, are pivotal in this strategy. However, Alasdair Macleod, a prominent gold researcher, cautions that implementing a gold-backed currency brings practical challenges that require strong political will to overcome. He underscores the importance of restoring trust in a monetary system that has historically relied on tangible asset backing, noting that every global reserve currency has historically been tied to a gold standard. As discussions around alternative currencies evolve, whether through digital assets or a return to gold, ensuring that these currencies can be exchanged for gold will be crucial for their acceptance and value. Now, we present clips of Alasdair Macleod's insights from his recent interview. Before we continue, please subscribe to our channel and activate the bell icon for timely updates.
But by the time, you invent gold as money, and you standardize, let's say, through coins or something like that, it's it's the sheet anchor for the value of credit, because all credit refers back to the coinage, in effect, and it's either gold or silver or even copper, but basically we're talking about gold. So, your credit has got to be tied to gold. Since 1971, when we came off the last of the rather weak gold standards, the Bretton Woods Agreement, that's been completely unattached. Credit is no longer attached to gold. Yet we see that the value of the dollar in terms of gold has actually fallen from $35 to the ounce to, and of course you've got to look at it upside down, to, as we speak, something like $2,750. I mean, that implies there's only literally 1% or 1 and a bit percent of value left in the dollar from that day. Mm-hmm. And that's over 50 years. It was going that way, so we knew that was, it was unlikely we'd actually get the announcement of a new gold-backed BRICS currency. And not only that, but people who were sort of supposed to be experts in the whole thing were making comments which was just such rubbish, like 40% gold and 60% currencies. I mean, come on, that just doesn't work. They don't understand credit. They don't understand that credit is created out of thin air. And that's the way actually the world works. The commentary on this was so obviously wrong. And it is clear that the whole decision about a BRICS currency is essentially political. I think that's the key thing. Now, the reason I say that is that as far as Russia is concerned, she has not only the gold resources. I mean, I'm told that apart from what the Central Bank of Russia has, there are additional gold resources in the order of about 10,000 tons held in if you like, sovereign wealth funds. I was thinking actually while you were talking about prices, you mentioned prices and how people begin to realize that currency is fiat rather than something which retains its value. But we still have this situation where when you get the general level of prices rising, people don't understand that what's happening is the purchasing power of their currency is falling. And I mean, this is something that politicians have tried to stamp on going way back. I mean, I think the first recorded one in history was Diocletian in about 303 AD when he came out with an edict of maximum prices. That told us two things. Firstly, that he was trying to counteract the effects of the debasement of his coinage and the loss of confidence in it, which is also an important factor. And the result was that the edict of maximum prices, under penalty of death, meant that any butcher, baker, candlestick maker in Rome just shut up shop and left, and that the city emptied. He didn't realize that actually it was the result of the debasement of the currency at the time, the denarius. The other thing that told us, which is actually something fascinating, if you look at the table of maximum prices, you can see that the prices for things that we would use today are actually quite similar to what they were 1,500 years ago in gold.
Yeah.
In other words, the price of gold is, pretty, it fluctuates, of course it does, but it's the value of gold rather than its price fluctuates, but it's pretty constant through the centuries. And that's why you've got to tie your fiat currency to the value of gold with a proper, as you put it, exchangeable gold standard.
The discussion around gold as a safe haven asset has intensified amid global economic uncertainties. Many experts, including Alasdair Macleod, believe we're entering a bullish phase for gold as central banks worldwide continue to accumulate reserves, signaling confidence in its long-term value. Countries like China, India, Brazil, and South Africa are quietly enhancing their economic sovereignty by building gold reserves, aiming to reduce reliance on the potentially volatile US dollar. While these nations may not directly challenge the dollar's dominance, they are laying groundwork for a more resilient financial future. Alasdair is particularly concerned about rising inflation and its impact on purchasing power. Foreign investors, who hold roughly $32 trillion in US dollar-denominated assets, are reassessing their positions as the dollar's value weakens. Although central bank demand for gold has recently slowed, investor interest is shifting, with inflows into gold-backed ETFs this year. Alasdair points out that the traditional dynamic of ETF sellers providing liquidity is changing, positioning investors as liquidity takers in this evolving market. With falling interest rates and low market positioning, gold's appeal as a hedge against inflation, partly driven by high government spending, grows stronger among investors. Now, let's return to the interview.
When it comes to inflation, I view inflation as a fall in the purchasing power of the currency. Mm-hmm. What I see in dollar terms is money getting out of the dollar and getting into whatever else, and that whatever else is gold. And that tells us who's buying it, so I'll come to that in a moment. But the point is that if the purchasing power of the dollar is going down at a faster rate, then the inflation, if you like, of goods, even though the government statistics will never tell the truth about this, inflation rises. From the foreigner's point of view, remembering that foreigners at the moment have something like 32 trillion invested in US dollars and underlying assets, financial assets. I'm not talking about, physical property and things like that. They've got to have a reason to hold on to that, or even a reason to add to it in order to stabilize the currency against other currencies. They're looking at this and they're thinking, hold on, there's a debt trap here. The debts are increasing. We have got an election coming up, and the budget deficit for until September 25 is likely to be, well, let's chuck a figure in the air, 2.5 to 3 trillion, something like that, with these spendthrifts. Could be even more, because if Trump gets in, he's talking about cutting taxes to spur growth. He's got the truss approach, as it were. And he's going to make up any differences or deficiencies by raising tariffs. Tariffs tell me two things. First of all, it's going to add to that perceived rate of inflation because the consumer will end up paying the tariffs. The second point about it is that we have forgotten the effects of the Smoot-Hawley Tariff Act in 1930, which plunged the whole world into an absolute crisis, particularly in a global farming crisis, which admittedly was aided by the invention of the tractor some 20 years earlier. The problems that we had in America, there's no doubt at all that they were made considerably worse by Hoover's. Well, it was actually put in by Herbert Hoover. The Smoot-Hawley Tariff Act, if Trump tries to do the same thing, and I have no doubt that he will try and do it, then the results of that could be disastrous. So, looking at it as a foreigner, let's say the People's Bank of China or whatever, do I want dollars? Do I? Hell is like. I'm going to get out of these dollars as quickly as I can. So what do I sell? What do I buy? I sell dollars for euros? No. My own currency? The problem is that if the dollar goes, the whole caboodle goes. So my only protection is to buy gold. And the interesting thing is that if you talk to analysts in the London gold markets, they can see perhaps half to 60% of the demand for gold. The rest of it is hidden. They just don't see it. So as far as they're concerned, there's a whole lump of gold being mined and coming in as scrap, which they can't identify where it's going. And this tells me that it's going outside reporting, which basically, so if you look at customs, that customs cover non-monetary gold. So this is gold effectively going into central banks, wealth funds, anything that is, if you like, government and quasi-monetary. You see the amounts going through, I mean, they're absolutely huge. And it so happens that the amount of gold which appears to be missing marries in quite well with Russia's output, China's output, the CIS states' output, and various others in that camp, the BRICS Shanghai Cooperation Organization camp. It seems to me the word is out amongst these guys at the highest level that the dollar is going down, perhaps partly as a result of what we're doing, but for God's sake, get out of dollars. And they're doing that by going into gold. And I think that's why we're seeing something which none of us can really put a handle on.
Gold prices are anticipated to rise due to strong demand from the tech industry and ongoing macroeconomic uncertainties. As technology continues to depend on gold for electronics, this demand may drive prices upward. Combined with inflation concerns and central banks' accumulation of gold, its status as a safe haven could strengthen even further. Analysts suggest these factors could lead to higher gold prices, especially if geopolitical tensions or economic instability escalate, making gold an increasingly attractive investment. Market participants should stay attuned to developments in the tech sector and broader economic indicators to assess gold's price outlook. Please share your thoughts on Alasdair Macleod's analysis in the comments below. Don't forget to like this video, subscribe to the channel, and turn on notifications for more content like this. Thank you for watching.